I didn't think of a name for this.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
that's really...
But
I don't know, it feels weird. It's like... It's really, like, professional and, like, newsroomy. You know, especially with, like, how barren this landscape is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm interviewed by, like, Diane Walters, but, like, not at all.
Yeah. Like a casting couch for a porn shot or something.
Yeah.
Well, let's just call it Getting to Know Our Local Comedians.
Okay.
Volume 1.5.
I should have worn that Comedy and Kids App shirt.
Oh, it's all good.
I was wearing it at a gas station in Tacoma, and the gas station attendant looked like he like mustered all of his brain cells for this, but like he went Comedy and Kids App. That's the joke. I went, fuck you.
Nice.
But it was good.
Was he a tweaker or?
He definitely was.
Yeah.
He's either a tweaker or a very long, sad line of genetic mistakes.
These people that shouldn't be
just like a lot.
breeding.
They're like, I really hope he doesn't get his grandma's nose. Nope, he kept that. We kept her nose in the line for you.
Nice.
Another
I'll have to check him out. Which gas station was it?
It was an Arco by the airport. The Arco by the airport.
Oh, okay.
So
SeaTac area.
Yeah, SeaTac.
Okay. All right, so we'll call it Getting to Know Your Local Comedians, and you are Jordan Hanson.
Jordan Hanson, yep.
And so I guess right off the bat, I got some questions for you.
Okay.
How long have you been doing comedy now?
I've been doing comedy, 6 months?
About 6 months?
Yeah, about 6 months.
Okay. And your first time doing it wasn't here, it was in San Diego, I believe?
No, I was in San Diego. I mean, I didn't count that, so technically I've been doing it for like 8 or 9 months.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, San Diego, there's this place, I don't remember the name of it, it was so bad. But there's like a 3-story mall in downtown San Diego, and then at the top of that mall, there's like a really cool comedy club, and I did an open mic there. And it didn't work out so well, but it was a fun experience.
Is it that open air mall?
Yeah. And then the very top level, I can't remember what it's called. Something about laughter. I don't know. Yeah.
Cool. Wait, how did that go? Not very good?
It didn't, I didn't make anyone laugh, but it was only 3 minutes, so it was like whatever. And then there were so few people there that it was like, because there's like a main show, and then they do the open mic after the main show, so it's already like super late, and the only people who are open micing are the people that are open, like the only people there are the people open micing.
Gotcha.
And then even then there's not that many.
Gotcha. So what made you want to start doing comedy?
I don't know. I watched it a lot when I was little, I guess, and then I did like theater and stuff, and then I was always the comic relief role or whatever. So I kind of like just that reaction on stage is like natural to me, so it's not like off-putting at all if like a group of people laughs at me and whatnot. Even so, it's way more disturbing if you go up there and then a group of people doesn't laugh at you. Yeah. That's like, it's the worst feeling in the world.
Well, when you're alone, it's different than when you have other people on the stage with you.
That's true,
right?
yeah.
So, a little more pressure if you're alone.
Especially if whatever you're saying was self-deprecating.
Yeah.
Because then you're living in your misery by yourself. You almost feel there's no point to you saying it. There was no reason.
That's some of the things. I used to do a lot of self-deprecation, and one of the things I noticed is people wouldn't laugh because I felt like they were like, that's true.
They relate to it too much. Yeah. Like you're just...
I've had people come up to me after the show and be like, yo man, I'm sorry. And I'm like, for what? And they're like, well, your ex-wife and getting caught masturbating and all this other stuff. It's like, dude, those were jokes, man. Come on. Oh, they were? Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, cool, man. I like you. So obviously a popular question is, who were some of your inspirations growing up?
Inspirations, I suppose, would be Norm Macdonald, because I watched, for some reason we had like all of his seasons of Saturday Night Live, so like when I was like 13 and 14, like I knew a lot about like the O.J. Simpson case, where like none of my other friends did, because it's like really, like I knew a lot about like Tanya Harding and O.J. Simpson, and it wasn't really relatable to any of my peer groups.
Yeah.
So Norm Macdonald, I really liked him. I still do. Demetri Martin, I watched him when I was growing up, and then when I was younger, I guess I'm still pretty young, so I still have influences. John Mulaney.
How old are you?
I'm 20. I just turned 25.
Just turned 25.
Yeah,
okay.
Quarter life crisis. John Mulaney, and then I mean, it's weird to say now, but I really like Bill
Now, do you like Mulaney because you like his material, his delivery? Do you see resemblance in you and him?
Maybe because I like him. He's where I draw influence. Like, it's where I learn structure from, right? Like, you know, I don't, like, of them, I think I don't do jokes like Norm Macdonald or Dimitri Martin, but I just love that style of humor so much.
Yeah.
Like, I've tried to write jokes like Dimitri Martin, but it doesn't come out, like, the same way. I don't know how he hits it so, like, nail on the head with, like, just this little nuance in language, and then he's able to take it so far, which would be cool. But, yeah. Probably, Mulaney's
I think part of it sometimes just having a natural style that you don't have to pretend.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
And I think sometimes that helps when it comes like, well, how do they fucking do that? You know, it's like, that's just their style. That's who they are.
And a lot of it's probably how you, like, grow up with, like, how you tell stories, right? Like, how we tell each other stories is very innate, and some people do it differently. And, you know, a lot of that's going to depend on, like, whether, you know, maybe you come from the South and, you know, it's like that back porch kind of like yarn, you know, and it's, like, long and it's drawn out. Or, like, you're from, like, you know, Manhattan and it's very, like, fast-paced, you know, all that relevant information, not a lot of detail.
Yeah.
You know? So I suppose maybe in that way.
Yeah, I guess your demographic can have a lot to do with it, where you grew up and whatnot. So something I've noticed about your comedy is that you don't ever use notes like most other comedians do. Usually it's normal to use notes in the beginning, and then people try to wing themselves off of it later. What is your reasoning behind not using notes? Is it just because you don't need them? Or?
No, it's so I didn't know. I mean, I've seen people use them, but I just never did, right? Like, if I forget it, then I just have to live with forgetting it, right? Because, like, especially when I did, like theater in, like, high school, you don't get to do that, right? Like, it breaks a part of the illusion, right? And I think in comedy, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, so you don't want to break the illusion.
That makes sense. The theater has an influence on that.
Yeah.
Because some comedians, they fail to realize how much that disturbs the presence and delivery of their jokes.
However, I see how people can still be funny with notes, because like, maybe bringing notes on breaks the illusion, but if you don't remember, like, one part of a joke, you can completely tear out the entire purpose of that, and then there was no reason that you were up there for that minute.
Well, it's all about how you use the notes,
then it's
too.
Yeah.
Like, people that are flipping through pages and reading shit, I'm just like, really? Like, usually I just set my notes on the stool, and then I won't plan on using them, but if I have to look over and look down and see a line, you know, that helps me. But people that read their shit on stage, it's so frustrating. So I appreciate that about you. It makes sense that it comes from theater background. Do you think that working in theater helped you have a good memory as far as your jokes go, or do you think you've just always naturally had a good memory?
I think it's both. I don't know. I think it's just because I rehearse them. I don't think there's any, like, natural inclination. Okay. But I do rehearse it the same way I would rehearse a line or whatever.
Yeah.
And then also, when I rehearse it, I just I talk about the joke or whatever in its most basic form, right? So that way I know where the beginning is and I know where the ending is. And so even if I forget little stuff in the middle, which I do, like, a lot, right, I still know where I'm going, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. That's actually huge, and I'll give you a lot of credit for accepting the fact that if you forget something that you just have to live with it, because I've seen comedians beat themselves to hell because they were like, oh man, I can't believe I forgot that, and I'm like, and I'm not perfect. I used to be that way myself, so I know the feeling, but I have come to terms now that, you know, you should go up there with 100% in your mind, but be okay with 80% of your material if it comes out instead of 100%, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just going to be that way, and I learned that when I was watching a few road comics. They would do a show, 4 shows in 3 days.
Yeah.
You know, and you get to see the difference between each set and understand that, hey, they forgot that, but you know what? That's okay. It just didn't happen. So yeah, it's good that you've only been doing it for 6 months and you're okay with that. So, where were you raised?
I was raised I was born in Olympia, Washington. My parents are from North Dakota originally. Then they moved out here to, like, I guess, like, finish the Oregon Trail or whatever. Like, it started 200 years, and I took, like, a solid 100 off. They finished it. You know, we're late, but we got here. And then I was born in Olympia. I was raised in, like, Olympia area, and then Shelton, and then that was pretty much it. And then I joined the Navy, and then I went to South Carolina for about 2 years. I went to San Diego for about 2 years, and I just moved back up here.
Oh, cool.
So it's
Right
cool.
on. So your dad from North Dakota, and I know you have some material on him, and your impressions of him.
Yeah, just the one impression.
You know, when you do the impression, have you seen that movie Escape from Dahmer or Didio or whatever?
No.
It has, it was directed by Ben Stiller, I believe. It was a series of a prison escape. Anyways, there's this character, he has that same accent that North Dakota
It's a
accent.
solid one. I'm surprised there's not more like media about it, because everyone always makes fun of like accents from like the South or whatever, but it's never like, you know, the deep. I don't know.
Who do you give more? Who do you feel like you resemble most, or who do you draw from more in your life? Your mom or your dad?
My dad probably.
Cool. Well, so you know, obviously, someone's jokes and material and whatnot is not a good way to judge a character or a personality of any kind.
No.
But you have some jokes about being a virgin.
Yeah.
And when I wanted to put you on one of my flyers, I went back on your Facebook and was trying to find photos of you, and I can only find ones where you look like a complete virgin. And you were younger. And then there was this gap, so it's almost like when you got into the Navy, there was no more post of pictures of you. You know? So I only saw pictures of you when you were a virgin, and then now.
Yep.
So I guess it just begs the question: are you a virgin now?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I've just really grown into it, you know.
That's respectable, especially in today's society, you know.
Yeah.
And so.
I mean, there's like it's one of my jokes. Like, it's a choice. It's not mine yet.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't gotten to tell anyone no.
Well, has anyone else asked you that?
What?
Has anyone else asked
if I'm
you?
actually if I'm a virgin? Usually doesn't come up.
Just because I would figure the comedians would have asked by now, but out of curiosity, do you draw a lot of your jokes from personal experience, you think?
Some of them I just draw from pop culture.
Okay.
I don't know. It depends. Like most of the stuff that's funny is an extrapolation of personal experience for me. Like, none of it's really that true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
but like, it starts with truth.
Yeah.
Right? And then I describe it, and then usually it's pretty sad and mundane. And then I'm like, let's liven it up, you know?
I tell people all the time about my jokes. I was like, well, I just take a small truth and turn it into a big lie.
Yeah.
Basically. But I was super curious about that because, you know, it's just so, it's not in today's society anymore, you know, to save yourself for someone special. Is that what you're doing? You're just waiting for the right time? Because you look like a handsome young man in the future, which means that you could draw from the pool anytime you want.
That's true. But, like, you know, I mean, part of it's like, we're getting deep. I didn't think it would be this personal. I guess a lot of my shit's like really personal. You don't have to answer
all the questions.
No, it's weird because, like, I would share it in front of a group of strangers, but then that's like me just like stylistically, like, this is what information I want to reveal to you.
Yeah.
Right? But now it's like, it's a question, right? And I didn't get to think about it. It's just there, unanswered. And it's going to stay that way, I think.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Cool. Honestly, I didn't think you were going to say yes. Honestly. I thought that it was just going to be like, no, I'm not. It's just a joke.
But
that's respectable. I like that. So what's your preference then?
What do you mean? You mean like...
Do you like...
I like women.
You like women?
Yeah,
okay.
I like women.
And the reason why I ask is because I think that my gaydar went off a little bit when I saw you do comedy for the first time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a surprise, but then my girlfriend tells me all the time that my gaydar is always usually off, so what do I know? But you took the heckler out on a platonic date.
Yeah, it was really...
I hear, so I'm curious about that, because we just recently had a comedy show, for those of you that don't know, at Dog Days, and there was a heckler who started heckling from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, this was great. And I don't know if you're going to talk about it on podcasts, but my perspective of this like event was probably a little different than everyone else's, right? Not at the beginning. So at the beginning, she was just really actively participating in like everyone's set, right? But be it that she liked it or she was an active participant in this comedy show, and you could tell that she was not from America, right? Like, she just wasn't really she didn't like mesh with any of the culture of that of the establishment, and so she was like yelling and stuff. And then probably the climax of it was when Brock Toronto, Bremerton's #1 midget comedian, me being #2, was like in his like tiny Sicilian like voice, like, "You want to fucking fight?" And she was like, "Yeah." And we were like, "Oh my god!" And then she like went to like go pick him up or something. Yeah, she was like pick him up.
And I was like, I turned the mic on. I was like, "Hey, no picking up as a host, okay? Thank you, I appreciate it. Do not pick up the host." And I saw that it seemed like you were talking some sense into her at one point.
Yeah, I didn't want her to heckle me. That was like the whole thing. Because I hate hecklers, right? Okay. So I wanted her to, and if she did, I wanted her to be like positive and like in support of me, because I knew that like heckling would just derail me. Like it wouldn't. Like again with that like whole theater thing, like no one ever participates in a play ever at all. There's no social aspect, and that's where I'm weak in comedy. Is the fact that it's very social, it's very audience interactive. Even if you're not specifically like, "Hey, what's your name?" You know, it's still very interactive. It's very intimate. So I didn't want her to heckle me at all. So I started talking to her friends, and then I talked to her, and I found out that her name was Avi, and she had just moved to the country a month ago to get engaged to some dude in the Navy.
So somebody bought her online.
Yeah, well, I mean, they met through Facebook, maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to speak to the specifics of the transaction. I mean, relationship. And she was in the Israeli like military for 8 years, working intelligence. She's like a whole like millennial Mossad sort of thing going on. Okay. You know, like she just like Instagrams protein powder and like guns and stuff. And yeah, so it wasn't necessarily that she was being mean or like, you know, being outrageous, but like she was a little drunk and she had no idea that she was being rude, right? Like she legitimately had no idea that she wasn't being appropriate to this kind of environment.
Once I understood her accent, and I thought to myself, okay, culturally she probably doesn't get it, the heckling thing, which is understandable.
Especially because there's not a stage.
But we told her several times to shut the fuck up.
That's what that
And I don't care what country you come from. Shut the fuck up means shut the fuck up across the board. Yeah. You know, it doesn't mean continue to open your mouth and interrupt the show.
Yeah, she's definitely irate.
So, and normally I don't put it up with the heckler as much as I did that night.
Yeah.
But I was recording from 3 different angles, so I was kind of hoping that she was going to punch somebody. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in the end, everybody would be okay, but instead I gave her the mic, and she did a horrible joke.
Yeah. She did get better towards the end, though. Like,
yeah, I mean, she did.
Yeah, because I mean, Allison talked to her, and then I talked to her, and then I mean, yeah.
I think she was really mad about what I said to her. But I don't care.
She doesn't remember a lot of it.
I believe it. She was there like 4 hours before the show started, and I was like, "Oh, are you guys gonna stick around for comedy?" And they're like, "Oh, there's comedy." And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Yeah." So I mean, they were there for a good 8 hours. They put in a work shift.
Yeah, their friends were really nice too. They're very nice, agreeable people.
Did they know each other before?
They met. So she's been trying to make friends. So she's been using like Tinder for friends.
Oh, okay.
I know you could just do that. So yeah, she found these middle-aged. There's no better word to describe it. They're lesbians. I was just gonna say women who wear flannel.
Someone who's not gonna hit on her. Basically.
Yeah. Basically, that's what they
take her home.
Yeah. The one lady had a Doberman named Elmer Fudd. That's cute.
Well, how did the date go?
Huh? It was just a platonic outing. It was very platonic. So platonic. No, we saw that new Quentin Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah, which to someone who knows about the Charles Manson like murders is a very good movie, and to someone who knows nothing about American culture is like the worst movie that you could ever watch ever.
I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about it.
If you don't know anything about like the history of California and like the history of like the hippie movement, then there's really not a lot in it for you, except for like the end of it. But if you do and you're really into that, then it's a good movie.
Okay.
But it's not for someone who knows nothing. You can watch Pulp Fiction knowing almost nothing about like the 70s and it's still a good movie. Yeah. It has like fun little bits. And this one definitely has its fun little bits, but it draws a lot more from like pop culture. And there's a lot more like inside references. It's kind of like the difference between, I guess, Pulp Fiction would be to football what this movie is to baseball, right? Like if you don't have a deep understanding of the game, then it is.
Is that a way of justifying how slow it starts out?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because I heard a slow start.
Yeah.
But so, did she like the movie?
No. She didn't like it
Yeah.
at all. No, it
Yeah.
wasn't a. It's not a national.
Did it give her like PTSD from being from Israel or something like that? Because I met this girl I really liked once when I first moved up to Bremerton when I was like 20, and I took her out to see a movie. She was really digging me. I was really digging her.
Yeah.
She wanted to see a movie, so I was like, oh, okay. And I was a big fan of Jim Carrey at the time because of Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let's go see Me, Myself, and Irene. And she's like, all right. And as soon as the double-headed dildo came out, she was not interested. And I was like, because I chose the movie, you know, and it was really bad. I really liked her. And it's funny that a double-headed dildo popping out of a movie can ruin a perfectly good relationship.
That's right. There were a lot of kids at that, and that was weird.
Yeah,
there's a lot of kids at like movies that kids aren't supposed to be at. Like, did you see like the first Deadpool or whatever?
Yeah.
There was that scene where it was like Happy International Women's Day, and then she pegs him,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there were like 13-year-olds and like 12-year-olds and shit. And I was first introduced into pegging when I was 20, and it was still too early.
Yeah.
Like that, I was like, there's no way that they were ready.
Still can't get it out of my mind. Well, I will say, even just between you and teenagers today, there is a huge generation gap in the sense of internet, social media, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Especially if you have a sheltered upbringing versus someone who just lets you go on the internet free, willy-nilly, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm starting to notice that every time we have teenagers at a comedy show, and I'm like, they're like, oh, it's okay. They're fine. They've heard everything. And I'm thinking to myself, is that something you should be proud of? Or I don't know. But
information's accessible to everyone now.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going to have to deal with it.
We don't thoughtfully search children.
I just hope that kids don't get the jokes. You know, there's been plenty of jokes that I didn't get growing up that I didn't get till later in life.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
I don't know if it really traumatizes kids, but when they go to a movie like Deadpool,
Maybe, I don't know.
Educational in a way, I guess. But yeah, so I guess I don't have any other questions other than that, but I guess one final question that would be good is to ask you a little bit more about your comedy.
Okay.
Do you see this being something as a hobby, or what's your serious level on this? Is this something you're going to continue to pursue for the rest of your life?
Currently, it is a hobby and a creative outlet, and I think I will pursue it. Yeah, probably for the rest of my life. I can't see, it's like you said, I can't foresee anything that would really stop me from doing it. Even if I couldn't stand, there's a couple quadriplegic comedians out there, right? You basically just do it. And then once you say, it's the only thing in the world that you could just say you're it, and then you're it. No one's gonna be like, nah, no, you're not. You're like, I'm a comedian. No, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it takes a lot of work and time, and I think it's one of those things where if you don't give up and you just do it for the rest of your life, good things could potentially happen. It's there's no guarantee, but unless you and that's the thing, you can be 80 and still
just keep doing it. Yep.
Yeah. So why not just keep going? I mean, it doesn't have to be full time.
Yep. And most people do it right up until they die or go to prison.
Yeah.
Either or.
What frustrates me is people who take it serious for 1 or 2 years and then just quit.
Yeah.
It's pretty common. People quit comedy a lot because they think about 1.5 to 2 years. That's when they realize how hard it is.
Yeah.
And then they have to decide whether or not they're going to continue to do it for the rest of their life. Or,
that makes sense.
Or even 10 or 20 years.
Yeah.
And then they're like, fuck this. But, I just feel like it's one of those things where you have nothing to lose.
Yeah. No, it's very low opportunity cost, very low cost.
Low risk, high reward.
Yeah. You don't need a lot of equipment.
It's nice having someone set everything up for you.
Yeah, no kidding.
But cool. Well, thanks for being on the show, Jordan, and being so transparent and honest. I appreciate it.
Yep, no worries.
And good luck on life.
Thank you.
Whatever it is you want to do, man.
Good luck on developing a scene in Bremerton.
Fuck yeah, man. 7 years strong now.
It would be sick.
So, all right, cool. So everybody give a warm welcome to your next comedian, Jordan Hanson, everybody.
It's so bright. I don't even know if there's anyone here. Hello, my name is Jordan. I've recently been having a lot of trouble with social situations, and I didn't think much of it, and then I realized that I've been getting vaccinated my whole life. It's really starting to scare me. Been having a really hard time as of late. My little brother recently just he passed away. Because you know that thing where you like go to the movies and the main character like goes underwater, and then you try and hold your breath to see how long, like if you would make it. I took him to see Aquaman, and it didn't work out so well. I've recently stopped going to church, not really for any religious reasons, but the church that I was at recently had like a crusade against like premarital sexual relations, and the pastor pulled me aside and he was like, I'm just wondering if you're sexually active. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is where I get assaulted by a religious figure. I thought it was going to happen a lot earlier in life, my prime molestation years are far behind me. But 24, I'd take it. And he was like, slow down, you're not my type. But what he actually said was, he's like, are you sexually active? And I was like, no, because I was honest. And he was like, that's a commendable choice. And I was like, thank you, but the choice really wasn't mine. There were a lot of people who put a lot of effort into this, and they deserve all the credit. My parents, who never told me anything about the opposite sex and really instilled in me a fear of women. My dad, specifically, I recently got a dick pic from my father. It's the only dick pic I've ever gotten, but my name is the same as my mother's girlfriend's name. And sometimes the older generations get a bit confused when browsing through a contact list. So at Veterans Day, circa 2017, I awoke at 4:30 in the morning to, and this is going to sound a little weird, but the most beautiful penis I have ever seen in my entire life. No, I'm serious. It was crazy. Also because I taught my dad how to use like a camera phone, so I really felt involved in the process. Like if there were credits, it would have been like my dad as the director and then me as like technical director. But no, it was amazing. It was like he was at the head of the bed. He put the iPhone down so you could get a shot of his like nice, tight 52-year-old balls. It was weird. He had like a raging erection at 4:30 in the morning. And he even used the rule of thirds, had a light source, and he had a filter. For those of you wondering, the best Instagram filter for a dick pic, Mayfair. It has a little black frame. It was wonderful.
No, look, you're right.
Not lying. So anyways, he sends me this picture, and I'm just staring at it, amazed, bewildered even. And I come to realize that I'm at this standstill point in time. It's a generational first where I finally know the size of my father's penis, right? I can do a like genealogical study now, right, to determine whether or not all of it gets transferred over. Now, there's no way that I can like text my dad and be like, how big is it, because I don't really want him to let on that he's done this. So instead, I try and recreate the same scenario with like the same angles so I can like compare it. So I get completely naked, I get to the bed. And then I'm trying to get hard, which was very convenient because I had just received some free pornography. I just remembered that we're videotaping this. My dad. Oh my God. Please don't put it on the internet. Anyway, so I recreate the dick pic, hard dick and all. I print them out. I do a side-by-side comparison. It's the most trigonometry I've ever done in my entire life. And I come to realize that while I may be able to fill my father's shoes, I can't fill his condom. No, but my dad's he's a really nice man. He's from North Dakota. Why is that so funny? He's from North Dakota. But the funny thing is that he's always wanted to be like a supervillain. It doesn't really work with like the North Dakota accent, especially because he's from like the deep north, right? Like where you were raised on ice cubes and beef jerky. So these are my impersonations of my father as supervillains. The first is Bane. You know, you were born into darkness. Oh, but I'm an expert now, don't you know? I also have Darth Vader. You know there, Lucas. I am your father. And finally, the Joker. You want to know how I got these scars? Well, I was riding on a Zamboni down at the ice rink. You know, the one by the Kmart? God, I love Kmart. Well, anyway, so I'm riding on the Zamboni, right? Fred took me out on it. And wouldn't you know if my clumsy old bum didn't fall right off there and cut my face to ribbons. Oh, it was terrible there, don't you know? But at least now, you know, I'm always smiling. Thank you, that's all I have.
I am so glad that you did not hit your head at any point in time. That's great. I was like, shit, well, at least we'll get it on camera, so. But don't worry, we're not going to upload it to the internet for $100.